Have you ever wondered how age affects your relationships and self-worth? Is it possible to find true love without compromising your dignity, especially as we grow older? In this video, we explore the powerful story of an older man who found himself in a relationship with a much younger woman, only to face harsh realities and painful truths about love, self-respect, and aging. You'll learn why self-love is the foundation of any healthy relationship and why it's crucial to never lose yourself in someone else's expectations. Stay with us until the end to discover 5 essential lessons for older individuals navigating love and relationships. This video will show you how to reclaim your dignity, embrace the wisdom that comes with age, and understand why true love is built on respect and mutual acceptance, not youthful illusions. You won't want to miss this transformative journey. By the end, you'll be inspired to prioritize yourself, redefine your relationships, and learn why embracing your age is one of the most powerful acts of self-love. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. He poured his heart out to her, desperate to make her see beyond the lines on his face and the years etched into his skin. He wanted her to understand that age was not a barrier to happiness, that his decades of life had taught him things no fleeting youth could ever match. His voice trembled with a mix of vulnerability and strength, carrying the weight of his love and the resolve of a man who had lived through storms and still stood tall. "I may not have the boundless energy of a younger man," he admitted, his eyes searching hers for even the faintest sign of understanding. "But I can offer you something far greater, a love that is steady, patient, and deeply rooted. I can make you feel valued, truly cherished, in a way no one else ever could." He spoke with an honesty that could only come from years of experience, from a life lived with both triumphs and scars. Few men his age dared to bare their souls so openly, to lay their hearts on the line with such unflinching confidence. But for her, he would do it. For her, he would risk the pain of rejection. Yet her response was like a cold wind cutting through his warmth. She dismissed his words with a cruel wave of her hand, her laughter sharp and biting. Her contempt was palpable, her eyes brimming not with understanding but with disdain. "You think that's enough?" she scoffed, her voice dripping with mockery. "What can a man your age possibly offer me?" Her words struck him like a blow, tearing into the very fabric of his self-worth. He had prepared himself for skepticism, for doubt, but not for this. Not for the unrelenting cruelty of her laughter, the way it echoed in his mind long after she had stopped speaking. At that moment, he felt a deep, aching humiliation that spread through his chest like a fire he couldn't extinguish. He told himself it didn't matter, that her rejection was just a test, a trial of his love's endurance. Surely, he thought, if he could hold on long enough, she would see the depth of his devotion. Surely, with time, she would recognize his worth. But as the days turned into weeks, her disdain only grew more pronounced. She mocked his efforts at every turn, belittling the very qualities he had hoped would set him apart. His patience. She called it desperation. His understanding. She dismissed it as a weakness. Every attempt he made to prove his love was met with scorn, and with each encounter, he felt himself shrinking further and further into the shadows of his mind. He began to question everything, his value, his identity, even the love he once felt so certain about. To outsiders, it was easy to judge him. Anyone hearing his story might shake their heads in disbelief, wondering why he didn't walk away sooner. But those who have loved deeply, who have been ensnared by the intoxicating pull of affection, understand how love can blind us to the things we should see most clearly. He wasn't just tied to her youth or her beauty. He was bound to the idea that he could somehow prove himself worthy, that his love could overcome her unwillingness to see past his age. The cycle continued, each confrontation leaving him more battered and broken than the last. He clung to the hope that if he just endured a little longer, if he just gave a little more of himself, she would finally understand. But the hope that had once sustained him began to feel more like a weight, dragging him deeper into despair. One evening, after yet another argument that left him feeling small and insignificant, he found himself standing in front of the bathroom mirror. For a long time, he simply stared at his reflection. He saw the lines on his face, each one a testament to a life fully lived. He saw the gray in his hair, the slight stoop in his posture. But he also saw his eyes that still held a spark of life, a glimmer of the man he had once been. He saw the weight of his experiences, the wisdom he had earned through decades of joy and heartbreak. And in that quiet moment of reflection, he realized something that shook him to his core. He had been waiting for her to validate his worth, but she never would. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. The truth hit him like a tidal wave, crashing over him with both clarity and sorrow. He had spent so much time trying to prove himself to someone who could never see him for who he truly was. He had given her the power to define his value, to make him feel small. But no more. He realized, with a mix of pain and newfound strength, that he couldn't keep sacrificing his self-respect for the hope of a love that wasn't returned. That night, he made a decision. The next morning, he sat across from her, his demeanor calm but resolute. There was no anger in his voice, no bitterness, only the quiet strength of a man reclaiming his dignity. "I've given you everything I have," he began, his voice steady despite the emotion swelling in his chest. "I've loved you in ways I didn't even know I was capable of. But I can't keep giving myself to someone who doesn't value what I have to offer. Love should never come at the expense of self-respect, and I've realized I deserve more than this." She stared at him, her expression a mix of surprise and indifference. He didn't wait for her to respond. For the first time in what felt like years, he stood up for himself, not with anger, but with the quiet assurance of a man who had rediscovered his worth. As he walked away, he felt a strange mix of emotions, grief for what could have been, but also an overwhelming sense of liberation. For the first time in a long time, he felt free. Free from the chains of her approval. Free to embrace the life he had almost forgotten was his to live. As he stepped out into the world, he realized that the love he had so desperately sought from her was the very love he needed to give himself. More than anything else in the world, he loved her. She was the sun around which his world revolved, the force that shaped his days, and the presence that filled his dreams. Yet, as deeply as he adored his girlfriend, the pain of constant humiliation had become unbearable. The biting words, the cutting glances, the subtle but persistent reminders of what he lacked, they had carved away pieces of him like a relentless tide eroding the shore. For months, he had endured it in silence, convincing himself that love was supposed to hurt, that his sacrifices were proof of his devotion. But one day, something within him shifted. When he finally gathered the courage to stand up to her, it felt as if a lifetime of self-doubt had come to a head. His voice trembled at first, not from fear but from the weight of what he was about to say. She turned to look at him, her expression frozen in shock. It was clear she hadn't expected this, the man who had once quietly endured her criticisms now speaking with a conviction she didn't recognize. For the first time in years, he felt a flicker of dignity reignite within him, a piece of his soul reclaiming itself. The conversation that followed was excruciatingly raw. Each word cut deeper than the last, leaving them both stripped of the illusions they had been clinging to. It was like standing in the middle of a storm, buffeted by winds of truth that neither of them could escape. Yet, amid the pain, there was also a strange kind of clarity, a sense that this moment was necessary. It wasn't just a confrontation, it was a reckoning. As he spoke, he felt something he hadn't in a long time: freedom. Walking out of the house that day, he was overwhelmed by a flood of emotions. Relief, sadness, and an unexpected sense of peace washed over him all at once. The air seemed crisper, the world sharper, as though he had stepped out of a fog he hadn't realized he was in. For months, perhaps even years, he had carried the crushing weight of feeling unworthy. He had internalized her criticisms, her dismissive glances, and her cold silences, believing they were reflections of his inadequacy. But now, as he took each step away from that house, he felt lighter. For the first time, he began to see himself not through her eyes but through his own. Memories of his life came flooding back, the triumphs, the struggles, the lessons he had learned along the way. He thought about the years he had lived, each one filled with moments that had shaped him into the person he was. Every wrinkle on his face, every gray hair, was a testament to a life well lived, to wisdom earned through experience. He realized how much he had to offer, not just to others but to himself. He had allowed someone else to diminish his worth, but now he was determined never to let that happen again. The days that followed weren't easy. There were moments when the loneliness felt suffocating, when he questioned whether he had made the right choice. The echoes of her voice lingered in his mind, whispering doubts and insecurities. But with each passing day, those whispers grew quieter. He began to rebuild himself, piece by piece, starting with the foundation of self-respect he had reclaimed. He came to understand a profound truth. Not everyone is capable of seeing the value in others, especially those who only judge by appearances. She had looked at him and seen an aging man, but he was so much more than that. He was a mosaic of experiences, a repository of love and kindness, and a soul that deserved to be cherished. And if she couldn't see that, it wasn't a reflection of his worth but of her inability to appreciate it. As time passed, he rediscovered parts of himself that he had forgotten. He reconnected with old friends who welcomed him with open arms, reminding him of the joy of laughter shared with people who truly cared. He picked up hobbies he had abandoned, losing himself in the simple pleasures of creativity and exploration. Painting, hiking, reading. Each activity was a reminder of the richness of life, of the beauty that exists beyond the confines of a toxic relationship. He also began to travel, visiting places he had always dreamed of but had never dared to explore. Each new destination was a chapter in his journey of self-discovery, a testament to his resilience and his commitment to living fully. He stood on mountaintops and gazed at the horizon, feeling a sense of wonder that had been absent for too long. In those moments, he realized that his worth was not tied to the approval of a younger woman or anyone else. It was something intrinsic, something no one could take away from him again. Through it all, he found a love that was deeper and more enduring than any he had ever known, the love he had for himself. It was a love that didn't demand perfection, youth, or external validation. It was a love that accepted him exactly as he was, with all his flaws and all his strengths. This self-love became his anchor, the foundation upon which he built his new life. Months turned into years, and he found a happiness that was quiet but profound. He no longer looked in the mirror and saw a man defined by his past relationship. Instead, he saw a man who had overcome heartbreak, who had learned to value himself, and who had emerged stronger for it. His journey had taught him that dignity is never worth sacrificing and that true love, whether it comes from another person or from within, respects and uplifts. Now, when he reflected on the relationship that had once consumed him, he felt no bitterness, only gratitude. It had been a painful chapter, but it had also been the catalyst for his transformation. He had learned to let go, to heal, and to grow. And in doing so, he had discovered a truth that would guide him for the rest of his days. The most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. Each wrinkle etched into his weathered skin told a story, a tale of moments that shaped his being, of memories both sweet and bitter. They weren't mere signs of age. They were the imprints of life's profound lessons, carved by time and experience. Every silver strand in his hair gleamed like a medal of honor, reflecting years of battles fought, dreams pursued, and truths uncovered. As he stood before the mirror, he saw more than just an aging man. He saw a survivor, a seeker, and most importantly, a soul who had finally learned to embrace himself. For the first time, he no longer felt the need to apologize for the lines on his face or the weariness in his gaze. Instead, he wore them with pride, knowing they were proof of a life lived authentically. With age came not only physical change but also clarity that could only be earned through years of living. He realized that wisdom wasn't a gift handed out freely but something earned through countless trials and tribulations. It was the ability to discern what truly mattered, the courage to let go of the superficial, and the strength to protect his peace. For years, he had sacrificed his happiness to please others, bending to their expectations, compromising his values, and silencing his needs. But as time wore on, he began to understand the futility of seeking validation from the outside world. He learned that true contentment could only come from within, from loving himself and embracing his flaws and virtues alike. His story is a powerful reminder to anyone, especially those in their later years, who may be grappling with self-doubt or questioning their worth. It's a gentle yet profound call to action. Never trade your inner peace for the fleeting promise of external approval. Love, while beautiful, should never come at the cost of your dignity or self-respect. Only those who have weathered the storms of life can truly appreciate the quiet strength it takes to preserve their integrity. The false promises of youth, promises of perfection, endless love, and unwavering happiness, may fade, but what remains is the priceless treasure of authenticity. In revisiting his past, he didn't dwell on regrets but instead saw his relationship as a teacher. It taught him the importance of standing firm in his values, even in the face of criticism, and the necessity of self-love as a foundation for any meaningful connection. When he chose to leave the relationship, it wasn't an act of giving up, it was an act of reclaiming himself. He walked away not because he didn't care, but because he cared deeply enough to know he deserved better. In letting go, he found something far greater: his confidence. He realized that to be loved by another, he first had to love himself wholly, embracing every limitation, every imperfection, and every strength. This realization wasn't instant. It came through pain, introspection, and a willingness to face the parts of himself he had long avoided. And in that process, he unearthed a profound truth. No external relationship could fill the void within. Only self-love could do that. For those who read or hear his story, it becomes more than just a narrative. It becomes a beacon of hope. It's a reminder that even in moments of despair, when it feels like the world is conspiring against us, we have the power to rebuild, to heal, and to rise. Self-love is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's the anchor that keeps us grounded when life's storms threaten to sweep us away. His journey is proof that confidence is not lost with age, but can be rediscovered through courage and introspection. This story is especially relevant to older individuals, those who have lived long enough to understand the fragility and beauty of dignity. Aging often comes with societal pressures to diminish oneself, to accept less, and to settle. But his story shatters that narrative, showing that true strength lies in upholding one's values, no matter the circumstances. It is a reminder that our value is not dictated by the number of years we've lived, but by how we confront life's challenges. It is our integrity, our resilience, and our ability to face adversity with a grace that transforms every wrinkle into a badge of wisdom and every gray hair into a symbol of perseverance. As we delve deeper into his journey, there are profound lessons to uncover. Lessons that resonate deeply with those navigating the challenges of aging and relationships. His story offers 5 invaluable insights for those who find themselves questioning their worth or struggling with difficult relationships. These lessons illuminate the path to self-acceptance, showing us that even in our most vulnerable moments, we possess an unyielding strength. They remind us that every experience, no matter how painful, is an opportunity to grow, to heal, and to embrace the beauty of our true selves. His life stands as a testament to the transformative power of self-love and the unshakable dignity that comes with it. Let his journey inspire you to honor your story, your struggles, and the profound wisdom you've earned. First, it is vital to remind ourselves that while the allure of reliving the vigor and passion of youth with someone younger may seem captivating, it comes with risks that cannot be ignored. The charm of those fleeting moments, the way they may make you feel vibrant, desired, or even invincible, can cloud your judgment and tether you to an illusion rather than a reality. Like the character in the story, many people find themselves pouring every ounce of their energy, time, and emotional investment into someone who, in the end, does not truly value or appreciate them. This unbalanced dynamic often leaves one party feeling drained, unfulfilled, and questioning their self-worth. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. It is a cruel irony that the very desire to prove you still have vitality, strength, and relevance can lead you to the heartbreaking trap of seeking approval from someone incapable or unwilling to see your true worth. This relentless pursuit can push you to accept treatment or circumstances that are beneath you, humiliations you would never have tolerated in earlier, more self-assured phases of your life. The harsh truth is that this need to prove yourself can erode your dignity, leaving you stranded in a place where you feel diminished, undervalued, and emotionally adrift. Love, however, was never meant to be a place of tests or trials where you must constantly prove your worth. True love is not about enduring pain to hold on to someone. It is not about sacrificing your pride or identity in the hope of being seen. Love, in its purest form, should be a sanctuary. It should be a sacred bond where respect, mutual acceptance, and genuine care flow freely between 2 people. It should uplift you, nurture your spirit, and remind you of your worth, not diminish your light or make you feel small. To lose sight of this is to risk losing not just your footing, but the very essence of who you are. Chasing the illusion of youth or validation from another should never come at the expense of your self-respect or your emotional well-being. The need for external validation can be insidious, quietly eroding the foundation of your self-esteem until you no longer recognize the confident, capable person you once were. But remember this: your worth is not determined by someone else's perception of you. It is not tied to your age, your appearance, or how much you can give to others. Your worth is inherent, undeniable, and immeasurable. It is far better to walk alone in your truth than to walk beside someone who doesn't see or cherish the beauty of your soul. Real love will never demand that you diminish yourself to fit someone else's expectations. Real love will honor you in your entirety, just as you are, without conditions or compromises that leave you feeling less than whole. So, stand firm in your truth. Honor your journey, and never allow the fleeting mirage of an illusion to blind you to the immense value of who you are. Second, this story teaches us that self-love is important. In his heart, he believed that enduring harsh criticism in the name of love was an act of nobility, a grand, selfless sacrifice that would strengthen the fragile bond he cherished. To him, it was proof of his devotion, his willingness to put the needs of another above his own. But in reality, this sacrifice came at a devastating cost. His dignity, his sense of self-worth, and the unshakable confidence that every person inherently deserves. What he thought was love became something far darker, a quiet surrender of his identity, a gradual erosion of the man he once was. Self-love is not selfish. It is the foundation upon which all genuine connections are built. Without it, we find ourselves desperately searching for validation in others, clinging to their approval, and tolerating mistreatment in hopes of preserving a relationship that is already fractured. This story is a poignant reminder that if we fail to love ourselves, we open the door to being undervalued, mistreated, and even disrespected. When we lose sight of our worth, we become vulnerable to others' contempt, to the sharp sting of their judgment, and to the overwhelming pain of feeling unworthy. Before entering any relationship, it is essential to cherish yourself, nurture your heart, and honor your soul. To love yourself is not a sign of arrogance but an act of survival. It means standing tall in your truth, recognizing your value, and refusing to accept anything less than the respect you deserve. It means knowing that your worth is not contingent upon someone else's opinion or approval but is intrinsic, unshakable, and infinite. True love is not a battlefield where one person's happiness is achieved at the expense of another's dignity. Nor is it a transaction where self-respect is exchanged for fleeting moments of affection. True love is a sanctuary, a sacred union of two people who see, honor, and uplift each other. It flourishes only when both partners recognize that they are deserving of respect, kindness, and compassion, first from themselves and then from one another. When you truly love yourself, you no longer feel compelled to endure unnecessary pain or tolerate disrespect to keep someone in your life. You realize that love cannot thrive in the absence of dignity or self-respect. You learn that no relationship, no matter how deeply you care for someone, is worth the price of losing yourself. This story challenges us to reflect deeply on how we approach love and relationships. Do we enter them seeking to enhance our lives, or do we silently hope they will fill the void left by our lack of self-worth? Do we see love as a partnership of equals, or do we believe it requires sacrificing parts of ourselves to make it work? The answer lies in the way we love ourselves, for without self-love, no relationship can truly flourish. Let this be a lesson. Never let love, no matter how intoxicating or seemingly pure, strip you of your dignity. A healthy relationship begins with the understanding that you are enough, just as you are. When you stand firm in your worth, you attract the kind of love that uplifts you rather than diminishes you. And in that love, both you and your partner can grow, not as two halves trying to complete each other, but as two whole individuals choosing to walk through life together, hand in hand, with mutual respect and unwavering support. Third, the lesson is to have the courage to face loneliness as a way to find peace, even if it's temporary. When he finally walked away from that relationship, it wasn't just an ordinary breakup, it was a reclamation of his very identity, a bold and defiant act of self-preservation. The relationship had chipped away at his sense of worth, leaving him hollow, lost, and questioning his value. Leaving wasn't a simple decision. It was a tormenting process, laden with sleepless nights and tear-streaked days. Yet, he knew in his heart that staying meant subjecting himself to more humiliation, more rejection, and more pain, a slow erosion of everything he once cherished about himself. Walking away felt like stepping into an abyss, like cutting off a part of himself to save the rest. But in that moment of excruciating pain, he made a choice. He chose dignity over despair. He chose to fight for himself in a way no one else ever had. And although the path forward seemed impossibly hard, he understood it was better to face the raw ache of solitude than to remain trapped in a cycle of dehumanizing torment. In those first days of being alone, the silence was deafening. Loneliness crept in, wrapping itself around him like a cold, unrelenting fog. At times, He questioned whether he had made the right decision and whether he would ever feel whole again. Yet, as days turned into weeks, something extraordinary began to happen. That silence, once so overwhelming, became a space for reflection, for self-discovery. He began to hear the whispers of his thoughts and desires, ones that had been silenced for so long. Slowly, he started to reconnect with himself, to remember who he was before the hurt, the betrayal, and the endless sacrifices. He realized that loneliness was not the enemy, it was a companion, a teacher. It showed him that being alone didn't mean being abandoned or broken. It meant taking a brave stand for his well-being. In that solitude, he rediscovered pieces of himself he thought were lost forever. The hobbies he had abandoned, the dreams he had shelved, the small joys that had once lit up his life, all of these started to return, one by one, like stars reappearing in a darkened sky. And with every passing day, his self-esteem, once shattered and scattered, began to rebuild itself. He found strength in his ability to endure, resilience in his refusal to settle for less than he deserved, and quiet confidence in knowing that his worth didn't depend on anyone else's approval. The weight he had carried for so long, the constant need to prove himself, to please someone who couldn't truly see him, began to lift. Through this painful but necessary journey, he discovered something invaluable, a profound inner calm, a wellspring of peace that came from within, untouchable by the outside world. This wasn't the kind of happiness that could be given or taken away by someone else. It was a deeper, more enduring contentment, one born from self-respect, self-love, and the courage to start anew. He came to understand that loneliness isn't something to fear or avoid. It can be a gift, a chance to heal and grow. In choosing himself, he didn't just walk away from a toxic relationship. He walked toward a better version of himself. And in that choice, he found a liberation so profound it reshaped his entire life. No longer did he see solitude as a punishment. Instead, it became his sanctuary, his place of renewal, and a testament to his unwavering strength. This hard-earned peace was his alone, a treasure forged in the fires of his courage and perseverance, something no one could ever take away from him. Fourth, as we age, our memories and experiences become treasures. As we journey through the later chapters of life, we begin to realize that our memories and experiences are not just fragments of the past. They are our greatest treasures. Each one holds immeasurable value, carrying with it the weight of lessons learned, moments cherished, and wisdom gained. These treasures, however, are often overlooked by those who remain fixated on the fleeting allure of superficial beauty and shallow pursuits. It is a tragedy of modern life that so many fail to see the richness that lies within a life fully lived, choosing instead to idolize the ephemeral glow of youth, a glow that fades with time and leaves nothing lasting behind. Every wrinkle on our face is more than just a mark of age. It is a story written by the passage of time. It speaks of laughter shared, tears shed, and countless moments of endurance. Every gray hair is not merely a sign of growing older but a crown of wisdom, earned through years of facing challenges, making sacrifices, and finding strength when the world seemed too heavy to bear. These physical changes are not flaws to be hidden or fixed. They are the visible evidence of a life well lived, a testament to the beauty of resilience and growth. For those who chase the idealized image of eternal youth, this wisdom remains invisible, out of reach. They are trapped in a world that values the surface over the soul, unable to appreciate the depth of character that comes with age. He, however, came to a profound realization. There was no need to conform to the world's shallow standards, no need to fit into the unrealistic mold of youthful perfection. Why should he? Within him lay a depth of understanding and perspective that no untested youth could ever possess. His years had given him a clarity of thought, a strength of spirit, and a sense of purpose that could never be diminished by the passing of time. He saw the folly in trying to win the approval of those who could not see past appearances, who could not grasp the beauty of a life lived authentically and fully. The superficial seeker will never value the wisdom of age because they are too distracted by the temporary and the trivial. And so, he chose to stop seeking validation from those who did not deserve it. He chose, instead, to embrace himself completely, to honor every lesson, every scar, and every triumph that had brought him to this moment. For him, aging was not a loss but a gift, a chance to step into the fullness of who he was meant to be. The true measure of life, he realized, was not in how the world sees us but in how deeply we value and respect our journey. The real treasure lies not in the fleeting admiration of others but in the profound sense of self-worth that comes from knowing we have lived with integrity, courage, and purpose. And so, he wore his years with pride, knowing that he carried within him something far more valuable than youth, unshakable wisdom that no passing trend or superficial gaze could ever take away. Fifth, the lesson is about intimacy. True intimacy is not confined to the fleeting moments of physical pleasure. Rather, it is rooted in the act of wholeheartedly caring for your partner's happiness and fulfillment. It involves understanding their needs and desires, embracing their vulnerabilities, and demonstrating love in ways that transcend the surface. This often includes acts of tenderness, such as oral sex and other intimate gestures, which reflect a spirit of selflessness and a willingness to prioritize your partner's joy above your immediate gratification. These moments of shared vulnerability and generosity deepen the bond between two people, creating an unbreakable connection that is as emotional as it is physical. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. He reflected deeply on the reality of aging, a natural process that changes the body, sometimes robbing us of the physical vigor and capabilities we once took for granted in our youth. He could have let this diminish his sense of worth or connection with his partner, feeling as though the waning strength of his body also meant the dimming of his ability to love fully. Instead, he embraced an invaluable truth. Intimacy is not defined by performance alone, but by the commitment to showing affection, care, and desire in countless other ways. Though the days of his youthful physical prowess were behind him, his capacity for tenderness, passion, and devotion remained boundless. He realized that intimacy could thrive in his whispered words of affection, in the loving touch of his hands, and in the thoughtful actions that conveyed his undying desire to make his partner feel seen, cherished, and deeply loved. He understood that true pleasure in a relationship is not limited to fleeting physical experiences, but is a shared journey of emotional vulnerability, trust, and the willingness to meet each other's needs with a full and open heart. Through these quiet acts of love and devotion, he demonstrated an extraordinary truth, that passion is not extinguished by time but reshaped and redefined by it. His ability to adapt and find new ways to express his love revealed his unwavering commitment to keeping the fire of their connection alive. He learned to set aside the pride and ego that might once have tied his sense of self-worth to his physical capabilities, choosing instead to embrace the deeper, enduring aspects of love that matter most. This profound shift became a testament to his character, a man who could look beyond his own insecurities and focus on the happiness of his partner. In placing her needs above his pride, he showed not only his love but his courage, his ability to be vulnerable, and his deep respect for the bond they shared. These acts of intimacy were more than physical. They were emotional, spiritual, and profoundly human. In this way, he came to see intimacy not as a fleeting experience tied solely to youth but as a lifelong dance, a delicate balance of giving and receiving, of finding beauty in the small gestures, and of always seeking ways to connect more deeply. His journey was a reminder that true love is not measured in physical strength or stamina but in the willingness to continually show up, give generously, and love completely, no matter how the years may change us. Through this realization, he redefined intimacy as a timeless act of devotion, a sacred expression of love that can endure and even deepen as we age, proving that the most important thing we can offer to those we love is not perfection, but presence. As we close this journey with the profound lesson of intimacy and the beauty of love that transcends time, we invite you to reflect on everything you've learned. What stood out to you the most? Was it the idea that intimacy is about more than physical acts? Or perhaps the realization that true love is found in the small, selfless gestures of care and devotion? We'd love to hear from you. Share one thing you've learned from this video and how you plan to bring it into practice in your own life. Let's continue the conversation and inspire each other to cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships. If you found value in this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring content. Your support means the world to us and helps us create even more meaningful stories to share with you. Thank you for watching. Red Heart.